Whoa, how many people caught a glimpse of that bear? Did you know that the black bear is native to Florida? Black bears are game animals that primarily use mature or coniferous deciduous forests, but they also use early successional habitat containing soft mass that they eat, young generated stands, shrub thickets, and dense brushy covers. They are highly adaptable and may occur in and around human dwellings and become problematic, especially if food is available. Black bears are primarily nocturnal, but may be seen anytime during the day. They hibernate in winter, even here in Florida, and have large home ranges. The black bear is an omnivore. They eat plants, vegetables, berries, and meat. Pretty cool, huh? We will have more fun learning about the black bear as we go. Let's focus on mammals. All right, many of us recognize the call of the coyote. Coyotes are found throughout the continental U.S. and have been observed in large cities and urban areas, grassland, shrublands, and farmland. All provide optimal habitat for coyotes. Coyotes den in a variety of places, including brush-covered slopes, steep banks, rock ledges, and thickets. They are most active at night during early morning and around sunset, but they may be active throughout the day. Coyotes can live in packs, alone, or mated pairs depending on time of the year. They have an extreme varied diet that fluctuates with the season. I call this animal jack of all trades, highly adaptable, and can be found in every continental United States. They like to eat rodents, rabbits, and other small mammals, insects, birds, deer, and a fancy word saying dead, carrion. Not to be considered with a gray wolf. A gray wolf is a much larger animal. They're both in the canine family, but as you can see, there's quite a big difference. We have some more fun learning about the coyote later on. Make sure you check out our live action videos. Up next, we have our eastern cottontail. Eastern cottontails occur in the eastern half of the country. They prefer brushy cover, interspersed with herbaceous openings. Eastern cottontails, rabbits, are also found in suburban areas, parks, golf courses, and stream corridors. And they are a prey for a majority of carnivorous, which means only eating meat, within its range. They are prolific breeders. A female may have 7 litters per year, with 3 to 6 young per litter. This reproductive rate is required to perpetuate populations because 70 to 80% of all rabbits die each year. If you'll notice the skull, a rabbit has a very distinctive skull, and they also have a second lower teeth, a second layer of lower teeth behind those big chompers. Here we have our 2 species of squirrel. We have the eastern fox squirrel on the left. It can be found in the eastern half of the U.S. except for areas of New England. Eastern fox squirrels use mature forests interspersed with small openings as well as oak and pine woodland savannas. Fox squirrels also may be found in urban areas where there's lots of trees. They spend much of their time foraging on the ground, and they build a leafy nest, usually in the crotch of the main trunk of a tree more than 30 feet above ground. They like to eat acorns, seeds, tree buds, flowers, mushrooms, and even eggs sometimes. Their water is generally obtained through their diet, but freestanding water may be used in late summer. Have you ever heard this sound? What in the world is that? That is the bark of our next friend, the gray squirrel. Gray squirrels live primarily in mature deciduous forests. They also forage along the edge of crop fields, especially mature cornfields. Gray squirrels have adapted to parks and other urban areas where mature trees are available. They like to forage trees and on the ground. They den in cavities of mature trees and also build nests generally 30 feet above ground. Gray squirrels will use nest boxes, but nesting structures are not necessary because squirrels can build nests where cavities are not available. Thus, cavities are not a limiting factor. Here is our common friend, the raccoon. They're very common throughout the U.S., except in certain parts of the Rocky Mountains, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Raccoons are found in a variety of vegetation types, but are usually most abundant near water. They are also found in urban areas. Raccoons den in hollow trees, burrows, stumps, brush piles, chimneys, attics, crawl spaces, or anywhere they can fit. They are omnivores and eat a wide variety of foods. Raccoons can become pests in urban areas and in wetlands. It means depredating, eating, tearing up waterfowl nests. Raccoons also have been identified as a major predator on our game birds' nests and young game birds. Think back to the bird presentation. Can you name a bird that nests on the ground? A game bird that maybe even says its own name? Answer us. Tag us on social media and let us know what you think. Their diet is very varied. They eat crayfish, birds, eggs, small mammals, insects, lizards, snakes, and require water frequently during the warm seasons. This is one of my favorite game animals, probably the most important game mammal of all of North America. This is the white-tailed deer. There are more than 30 subspecies of white-tailed deer that occur throughout the U.S. and southern Canada. They are extremely adaptable and found in a wide variety of areas, including deciduous forests, tropical evergreen forests, dry grasslands, and shrub deserts. They are adaptable to humans and exploit suburban areas very well. Whitetails thrive in areas with fragmented areas containing well interspersed vegetation types and successional stages. White-tailed deer are ruminants, which means that they eat plants and have a complex stomach to digest those plants. They concentrate their feeding on select plant species and select plant parts. Where overabundant, they can cause significant damage to row crops, agriculture plantings, and even ornamental plantings, and are very hazardous for motor vehicles. They like to browse. Here is the white-tailed buck, a male, the female, the doe, and their young, the fawn. Now, let's think about something. Does the buck, the male deer, have horns or antlers? We hear those terms a lot. Actually, deer have antlers. Well, what's the difference, you may ask? Well, an antler can be shed every year. That's right. Bucks lose their antlers every year and regrow a new one. You'll often or see that velvet on a deer that's regenerating the antler. Whereas a horn, as seen on the right, is never shed. It is permanently attached. You'll see horns on buffalo, rams, and goats. We have a fun activity for you to complete at the end of this session on a craft making antlers. Check it out. White-tailed deer can be considered one of the biggest success stories ever in conservation. White-tailed deer are the most economically important game species in Florida and pretty much in the United States. Deer in Florida have undergone major population declines as seen in other southeastern places. In the 1700s, unregulated deer hide trade and deer removal campaign caused by historic populations caused historic populations to be reduced to 20,000. After the Pittman-Robertson Act of 1937 and the eradication of a parasite called the screwworm, that Pittman-Robertson Act was one of the first regulations on conservation. So deer populations increased. Reintroduction of white-tailed deer by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, has also helped increase deer populations. By 1985, 100,000 individuals were recorded, and today an estimated stable population of 700,000 exists in Florida. So just in the state of Florida, Florida was not an outlier or different from the other southeastern states. Deer populations were very thin, but through conservation efforts, through the art and management of our art and science behind wildlife management, we were able to bring populations back to where they previously were and far beyond. From 20,000 to 700,000. What a great job. Wild pigs, also called feral hogs, were first introduced into what is now the United States at Tampa Bay, Florida. Unfortunately, we started it all here in Florida. By this explorer. Who can tell me who that explorer is? That is Hernando de Soto. He introduced the wild pig in 1539. In addition, early settlers throughout the eastern United States also raised domesticated swine, some of which escaped and became feral, leading to their establishment throughout the South and California. Today, 36 states have wild pig populations, estimated between 5 and 8 million nationwide. Many of these populations become established because of indiscriminate and illegal stalking for hunting purposes. As an invasive non-native species, wild pigs cause ecological damage via their rooting behavior and competition for food and space with a number of native wildlife species, and they also eat upon many small amphibians and reptile species. They also cause considerable agricultural damage to crops, pasture livestock, and environmental damage to water areas, often resulting in water quality issues because of rooting and wallowing behavior. As you can see, they can really do some damage. They are not good, and we need to do our part in conservation to try to manage these invasive species. We have an activity and some more learning fun later on in this session about invasive wild pigs. You can say that they're on our most wanted list. Some states have even given a reward up to the conviction of illegally stalking or moving wild pigs. let's do our part and try to keep these bad boys in control. Thank you for joining us. I would like to ask you to check out our animal encounter videos. We had a great partner here with the Emerald Coast Zoo. We have some live action videos. Please check them out. They're really cool. We'll be interacting with some bears, alligators, and even maybe a wolf. So check them out below in our session of woods and fields. Thank you.